Hello and welcome to another episode of Tim's Chief at Sea. Today's problems include a high water temperature alarm. I find a leak in our fuel manifold. And we're going to investigate a low water level alarm. But before we get into the meat and vegetables of the video, there's something I need to address. Caterpillar has sent me a cease to exist letter. I apparently defamed the founder, Mr. Arthur Caterpillar, and the company has demanded a full retraction. So, in keeping with the law, I must tell you that Mr. Arthur Caterpillar did not invent the 3516 diesel engine. In actuality, he bought an already existing patent and slapped his name on it. Now that we've avoided a potential lawsuit, let's go to the comments. Many of you commented on my last video, and I appreciate you taking the time to do so. I thought we might read a few of them together. Espen Mulvin writes, "We need more Keith." While I do appreciate the gesture, my clothes are getting pretty tight, and I think we need a little less of Keith. Jim Allen Persona says, O-ring, just as good as a gasket. Challenger, hold my beer. Too soon, Jim, too soon. Robert D. wrote, "Great to see what sets engineers apart from mere mechanics. Great video and more Keith." Thank you, Robert. Al Bracco writes, "He made me soil my bloomers." That's okay, Al. It happens to the best of us. I'm good for twice a year myself. And In Greed posted, "Question, is it normal to change the oil filters and not change the oil at the same time?" That's a great question, Mr. Greed. Each of our main engines holds 213 gallons of oil, or 852 quarts. It takes me 7 trips to AutoZone per engine, so I try not to change the oil any more often than necessary. We change our filters every 1,000 hours, and we take monthly oil samples to determine when it's time to change the oil. Lastly, Texas Al says, "I sure hope your engineer gets his own YouTube channel going soon." Thank you for the comment, Al. I don't know if having my own YouTube channel is something I want to do. I had fun making the last video, and I guess I'll see where it goes. I do know one thing for sure. If I make a channel, it will be nothing but completely original content, with no influence from the TimBatSea channel. Before we begin diagnosing problems, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about my family background. Both of my parents encouraged my path towards becoming an engineer. My mother used to tell me, if women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. My father worked for the Kenworth truck plant in Renton, Washington. He taught me about tools and how a knife could be used for almost any repair. He also taught me the importance of keeping a roll of duct tape available at all times. I can't tell you how many times this has saved me from trouble. My father has since retired and does occasional consulting work for the FBI. And now what you've all been waiting for, the chief to actually do some work. Our generator threw a high water temperature alarm, so I went down to the engine room to investigate, and I found that some coolant had burped from our overflow tank, as you're looking at here above me. I suspect there might be air in the system, so I take the cap off of the vent that's on the pipe leading to the cooler, and we're going to crack that open, and if there's any air in there, it's going to come bubbling out. And sure enough, there's some air in the system, and we're going to let that bleed out, and then I'm going to go to the other side of the cooler, and I'm going to vent the air there as well. Now that we've drained so much air out of the coolant system, the coolant level is low, which sets off the low water level alarm. I didn't get it on video, but I did add coolant to the system to get the alarm to stop. My next step was to take the belt off the water pump and then take the cover off the top of the exhaust manifold. And I start the engine, and I'm looking for bubbles to be coming out of this because this is the highest point of the engine. So if any compression was leaking by the head gasket and getting into the coolant system that way, I would see bubbles coming out of here, which I did not see. So my next step is I'm going to change the water pump. That should be the only other place that air can get into the system. Here you'll see me removing the belt guard. Followed by the belt. Now I'll be draining the coolant. Removing the water pump. And I'm also going to replace this plate behind the water pump. I'm going to have to put that back with some sealant. But since I'm already doing this job, I might as well replace the plate as well. And you'll see me preparing the new water pump on the bench. I want to get it painted before I put it on the motor. That way I don't make such a mess when I do go to paint it. I'm sorry, but I did not record myself reinstalling the new water pump, so I figured I would insult your intelligence and play you the original footage in reverse. And for those of you who stuck around all the way to the end of the video, here's a little bonus footage. Our boat was just lifted out of the water for her 5-year ABS inspection, and I'll share a couple more photos after she's out of frame here. Here's a nice full frontal for you. Here the travel lift is making her turn, getting ready to head into our parking spot. Here she is lined up with the keel blocks. Here she is sat down in her keel blocks and waiting for some more bracing. Oh, and who's that handsome bastard? That's about the only thing that can make me look small. Thanks for watching another installment of Tim's Chief at Sea. I read online that a good YouTube video should have an original sign-off, so this is me saying see you on the 2.